All right, Algebra, welcome back. Let's go ahead and jump into this lesson. This lesson is going to be tricky, I'm going to warn you, but you kind of already know how to do it because you've done this sort of since about 4th grade. What we're going to do today is long division. So I've got down here in the blue, I've just kind of got a reminder of the steps. So if we want to take 75 divided by 4, we have to ask ourselves, how many times will 4 go into 7? And that answer is 1, so we put the 1 on the top. And then we have to multiply 1 times 4, that was 4. And then subtract it, right? And so we would take 7 minus 4, and we would get the 3. And then we need to drop the 5 down, and we'd have 34, or 35. Then we'd have to ask ourselves, how many times will 4 go into 35? Well, that's going to be 8. And that 8 times, 4 times 8 is 32. Then we would subtract, and we would get 3, and 3 is going to be our remainder. And so we would say 18 remainder 3. Now, we're going to do the exact same steps today, except we're not going to call it a remainder with an R. This is how we would write it today. 18, and the remainder was 3, so we're going to put it 3 over this divisor right there, 3 over 4. So let's do an easy one to start, okay? 712 divided by 3. So let's just write this out, 712 divided by 3. Well, 3 goes into 7 twice, that's 6, and when we subtract it, that's going to be 1. Drop the 1 down. 3 goes into 11 3 times, and that's 9. 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract it, and we're going to get 22. 3 goes into 22 7 times. That was 21. Subtract it, and we're going to have a remainder of 1. So we're going to write this 237, and the remainder we're going to put out here over the 3. 237 and 1/3. Okay, and you're thinking, hey, this is not as tricky as you made it sound. Well, here we go. All right, let's do this one, and it's going to work. It's going to work the exact same way. And you're thinking, this is not going to work the exact same way. I promise. Steps are the exact same. Okay, so here's the question. How many times will 4x go into 20x squared? Well, the 4 goes into 20 5 times, and x goes into x squared 1 other time, okay? So now let's work this. 5x times 4x is going to be 20x squared. So subtract that, and that's 0. That works out well. And then drop the 12x down. Next question is, how many times will 4x go into 12x? Well, 4 goes into 12 3 times, and the x goes into the x just once, so we don't need to write anything there. Let's see, so we've got a plus 3 up here because the 4 went in 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12x, and when we subtract it, this one worked out really nice. We actually have a 0. So when we divide this out, it's just going to be 5x plus 3. I know that one hurt, didn't it? I can hear you. I can hear you. That one hurt. This one is tricky. I'm not going to lie. This one is really going to be tricky. So as I look at this, here's where my mind goes first, okay? My mind goes first, and by the way, this is going to be a dead end, so you don't need to write this down, but here's the first place my mind goes. I think of it as a fraction. When I divide, that's usually how I think about things first, is a fraction. And my mind wonders, I wonder if I could factor this on the top, just like we did a couple lessons ago, and cancel anything out. So I wonder, what multiplies to get 9 and adds to get 6? You know what? That's 3 and 3. We can factor this. So we can factor this, h and 3, h and 3. Bigger number always gets the first sign. Well, there's the same, so it doesn't matter. It's going to be a minus, and since this is a plus, they're going to be the same. H minus 3 and h minus 3. Well, that seems promising. So here's what I have on the top. I've got h minus 3 times h minus 3. And I was feeling good until I step back and I look at this. Now, as awesome as it was that it factored, the problem is I can't cancel anything out because I don't have an h minus 2 on top and I don't have an h minus 3 on the bottom. So, like I said, this came to a dead end and it didn't really help us. Okay, so if that doesn't, here's what we're going to have to do. We're just going to have to do long division just like we did in elementary school. So I'm going to rewrite this. And I want to take this one slow, just so we can see it, because this is tricky. Okay, now, here's what I'm going to say. Let's only look at the first term, okay, the very first term. So what I want to know is how many times will h go into h squared? Well, it's going to be tricky, but that's just going to be an h. Okay, one h up there. And you're thinking, Mr. Holsopple, why? Why is that an h? Well, watch what happens when we multiply this. What is h times h minus 2? I'm going to put my thoughts down here in orange. Let's go orange. If I want to know what h times h minus 2 is, I'm actually thinking the distributive property. So that's going to be h squared minus 2h. Okay, so let's come back up here. And h times h minus 2, we just did it down here, h squared minus 2h. Okay, all right, I know it hurts. I know it hurts, but let's keep going, all right? Because I think maybe we can get this. Now, remember what we have to do. We have to subtract these. And if you ever get confused, just go back to your rules right over here. You know how to do these when they're easy. Let's just do them when they're tough now. Okay, now be very, 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 very careful here. H squared minus h squared is 0. Okay, so I don't need to write anything down there. Here's where it's super tricky. Negative 6h minus negative 2h. Be careful here. Minus negative 2, that's going to be a negative 4h. Because when you subtract negative 2, minus negative means plus, right? So negative 6h plus 2h is going to be negative 4h. Now we need to drop the 9 down. Okay, take a breath. We got it. Now I need to know this. How many times will h minus 2 go into negative 4h plus 9? Again, we're only looking at the first term, so only look at the h and the negative 4h. So h times what is going to be negative 4h? Well, that's just going to be negative 4. So now let's multiply this negative 4 times the h minus 2 and see what we get. Again, I'm going to put my thoughts in orange down here. When we multiply the negative 4 times the h minus 2, that's going to be negative 4h and positive 8. So I've got negative 4h plus 8. Now we're going to subtract this. I'm going to write the subtract in blue just so it stands out and we remember that that is what we're doing. We're subtracting these. Okay, now what do we have? Negative 4h minus negative 4h. It's like a plus. That's actually going to be 0. So I'm not going to write down anything. Just erase that. Then we've got 9 minus 8. That's going to be 1. So our remainder is 1. Now remember how I said we were going to write the remainder. We're going to write it as a fraction. Our remainder goes on top and our divisor goes on the bottom. H minus 2. And that was a positive 1. So that's going to be a 1. Got it? Easy as that, right? Let me rewrite our answer down here on the bottom just so it's a little bit easier to see. Our final answer is h minus 4 plus 1 over h minus 2. That is our answer. Now, you may wonder why you need to know this for math, okay? I will tell you, you are going to use this in Algebra 2. You will use it in pre-calculus. You will use it in calculus if you take it to if you take calculus. If you take calculus 2, you will use this in calculus 2 as well, all right? So this is really kind of a building block for some really, really complicated math, all right? Now, I know this wasn't easy, but I know you can do it. If you need to watch this video again, feel free to do that. I know you can do it. Good luck.